I tried.
Hi, Jackie.
Hi,
Hi, Kristen. Hi, Mary.
Hi. Jackie,
That
I
was
received a
funny. The
wonderful
whole
email.
concept helped.
The whole concept helped. Yeah.
We were
Jackie,
talking about having enough oxygen, Jackie.
Oh, okay.
Sean told me 2 weeks ago I was pushing too hard, and she said, Kristen, you have to put your oxygen mask on first. And I was like, when I was in an airplane and my kids were next to me and they would say that, I would say, what is wrong with them? There's no way I would ever do that. If my child's next to me, there's no way.
No.
Yeah.
But then we were talking about you cannot do if you do not have.
Oh, that's a good one.
Do if you do not have. You cannot do. I have all these Maryisms that are amazing. You cannot do if you do not have. Jackie, I received an email from your husband that was so sweet.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, he told me he was going to email you. I didn't know if he did or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just can't believe the difference in me.
Yeah. It's incredible.
Yeah, it is incredible.
Yeah.
The other thing I forgot to tell you is when I walked 5 miles in Las Vegas, the day before I had walked 4.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's incredible.
Yeah, we were talking about that last night, and I'm like,
goodness.
early March, I was in a wheelchair going on a cruise.
Yeah.
I had to be wheeled around the airport, off and on the ship, in town, and here I am walking 9 miles in 2 days.
You retired the wheelchair and you retired the scooter.
Yep.
Incredible.
I did.
It's incredible.
I gotta get the scooter sold. I gotta get it cleaned up and put on Facebook
How
Marketplace.
good does that feel? Oh my goodness.
I've been asking God, the universe, to put in front of me someone who needs it, but so far nobody's shown up. So I'll just put it on Facebook for a good price, and somebody will grab it.
Oh.
Yeah, and I'm not going back. So
You're not going back.
I'm not going back.
There is no way you're going back. Yeah. Yeah. When I start sliding, Sean, I mentioned Sean said, you have to put your oxygen mask on first. And I just pull the tools in, and then the next day. It's amazing. Yep,
it is. I had a setback last Friday. I was around some people that can trigger switches on me. And so, that night, the next day, it was just brutal. I'm like, oh my God, I went right back to where I was. So I started over.
Yeah.
And I pretty much came out of it.
Jackie, every single time you come out of it, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Every single time you have a setback and you come out of it, you are reinforcing the new neural networks. So
good.
Great opportunities to just get stronger and stronger.
Oh, that's great news. Thank you.
Yep.
Every setback's an opportunity.
Yeah. Isn't that true? Isn't that interesting?
Isn't that interesting? I love it. Hey, Vicente, we miss you.
How are you?
Great. How are you guys? How are you doing?
Wonderful.
Good.
I missed you guys too very much.
We miss you.
I really miss Mary.
Where are you, Vicente?
I just walked out of the Sierras in California.
Ah.
And I was delayed. My plane was diverted to Boston during the storms.
Right, I heard
Tuesday.
it was bad.
It was bad. But we landed. Gratitude.
Right. A good outcome, Vicente.
Yeah.
Good outcome.
Yeah. I'm probably gonna have to turn video off in about 20 minutes, but I'll try to stay long as I can. I do appreciate. I wanted to be here pretty badly with everyone.
Oh, we're glad you're here. Do you want to lead the commitments or do you want me to?
I would be happy to.
Yeah. You're better at it than me.
Well, I don't know about that, but I do enjoy them. I'm welcome, everyone, and I'm so grateful to be here with all of you. These commitments are our shared agreements, living intentions that guide how we show up here for ourselves and for one another. Presence over performance. I commit to showing up as I am, not as I think I should be. Curiosity over judgment. I commit to replacing assumptions with questions, to listen without fixing, and to make space for the unknown. Pacing over pressure. I commit to moving at the rhythm of my own readiness. There is no timeline for healing, only next steps. Permission to be human. I commit to honoring my emotions, limits, and needs. Rest as revolutionary here. And confidentiality and compassion. I commit to holding what is shared in trust. We don't share stories that aren't ours to tell.
Kristen, do you want me to
That's all I
take it
got.
from here?
That's all I got. That's all I got.
Thank you so much, Vicente. That was great. So, guys, we have 2 more weeks left. This is fantastic. It's been so great to hear from so many of you of your progress and what you're learning and what where you might be stuck and where you want a little bit more. So today and this week, we're learning about the stress response and the importance of completing the stress response. And what I'd like to do for a few minutes is to just geek out a little bit with you guys on the anatomy and physiology of the stress response, because this is going to tie in a lot of the information that Dr. Vicente has been sharing with us in his lectures. And understanding that, the importance of understanding that, I have found personally, and there's good research data on this as well, is that when you start to just think about the logistics of what's happening inside and you understand on a physiologic level what's happening, it really helps to diminish the charge of it. So when we have a stress response, often people start to react to their stress response. So if they're having anxiety as a stress response, then they're freaking out that they're having anxiety, and then that just feeds the stress response even more. But if you start to have anxiety and start to understand, oh, this is a stress response. Isn't this interesting? This is what my body is doing. And I must be releasing adrenaline. And in 15 minutes, I'm going to be releasing cortisol. And having that understanding, that's your awareness. So it's the pause. You're doing an IPAC within that. You're pausing. You're bringing awareness to what's happening inside. And as we go through this physiology, you'll have a better understanding of what is happening inside when you pause and bring your awareness to your internal state or the interoception. And then you get to choose what you want to do rather than your body hijacking you and taking you along a familiar path. This is the fork in the road. So you're standing at the fork in the road, you're watching what's happening inside. And if this is the moment, the critical moment where you get to choose the familiar path or a new path. And the new path is all the tools, the calibration tools that we're teaching you are going to help you choose this new path and create new neural networks. So what happens in a stress response? Let's just go through this really quick. There's some beautiful information that Kristen has posted already on the website. So you can review this in detail more, but I'm going to go through it now. So what happens when the body perceives a stress, the first place that that there's an awareness is in the amygdala, then the center of the brain. Right? It's in the temporal lobes of the brain. Sits the amygdala deep inside, and there's a subconscious awareness. This happens before even your conscious thought becomes aware. So a smell or a touch or a sound is going to trigger that amygdala to create a response. And then this is happening before even your conscious awareness. And the other thing that the amygdala does is it begins this stress response, or what it does is it assigns meaning to what it's perceiving. And then it communicates to different parts of the brain. It's going to communicate to the hippocampus. When that happens, you create a memory. So now you have this sensation, you have a memory created in response to this sensation. And then you have a response, which happens with the communication with the hypothalamus. So you have this perceived information in the amygdala, so a smell, a sound, or a touch, and then there's an association. What does this mean? And if the meaning is something negative, you're going to mount a stress response. And then that stress response is triggered via the hypothalamus, and then it's going to trigger the sympathetic nervous system, which we learned about with polyvagal theory, right? So we learned about the sympathetic nervous system, we learned about dorsal vagal and ventral vagal. And that sympathetic nervous system runs all along the thoracic spine and upper lumbar spine. So that's that sympathetic chain ganglion along the spine. And then also that the other piece of this is the amygdala is going to activate the hypothalamus, which then triggers the release of epinephrine from the adrenal medulla, from the adrenals. So, and that epinephrine is also going to activate a stress response. So then what happens in a stress response? So the stress response is for fight or flight. It's for an immediate reaction. It's for mobility, to move. And so in order to move, your heart rate's going to go up, your breathing is going to go up, we're going to shut down digestion. Our pupils are going to dilate really big. That's another way that we can see when somebody's in a stress response, their pupils get big. And the body wants to mobilize. And we have about 15 minutes or so for that adrenaline surge to happen. And then what happens is the body at the same time, the body is triggering the adrenals to release cortisol. And after about 15 minutes, the cortisol starts to rise. And that kind of takes over. And if we don't complete the stress response, this adrenaline and cortisol gets stuck in the body. And at that point, our body starts to feel the effects of adrenaline. We start to feel anxious, or you know, we feel stuck, or we might feel overwhelmed and shut down. So this is the stress response. And it's important to complete this stress response so we don't end up in a chronic stress response, which can then create long-term effects. And we can get stuck in that. So did everyone understand that? That's sort of a lot of information in 5 minutes. So I would love questions so that we can really break this down so you understand what's happening physiologically. So when you experience a stress response in your body, where your heart rate is beating really fast, or your breath, you're starting to hyperventilate a little bit, or you feel that surge of anxiety feeling, or digestion is shutting down, like I really want you to understand on a physiologic level what is happening and why it is so important to then intervene at this moment. And then we're going to give you the tools and tell you what to do so that you don't get stuck in this stress response. Questions?
Tracy.
Okay, so
Sorry.
if you are experiencing a situation, you're going into a stress response. If you block it, where does that get stuck in your body? Like, is there a specific place that it's held?
I'm gonna put that question right back at you, Tracy. Where does that get stuck in your body? What happens to you when you stuff it or hold it back and you do not complete a stress response? What does that look like inside? And if you don't have the answer now, I invite you to ask that question. That's just happened to me. Can I share something that just happened? So this might help. You understand this, and it's so interesting when we're teaching a lesson. Kristen and I keep talking about how this keeps happening, where we feel like we're living the lesson before we're supposed to teach it. So I had this beautiful opportunity this weekend to get triggered, and somebody said something to me on Saturday night that triggered me, and I got so angry inside and activated, but I didn't say something in the moment. And I can name a reason, reasons why, it doesn't matter, but I stuffed it. And then later on that evening, I got called away to take care of somebody needed me. So I never had an opportunity to express myself. The next morning I woke up, I was so irritable the whole day. I had anxiety the entire day. And I just felt so unsettled inside. Like I felt like my nervous system was like vibrating inside, and it was like contained, and there was nowhere for that energy to go. And then I thought back on what happened. I was like, oh, I never expressed what I needed to say to this person. And that's what's going on inside me. And maybe I didn't need to express it to that person, and it wasn't the right time, because if I did it at that moment, it may have been explosive, or it may have been inappropriate, or maybe I was projecting something that had nothing to do with that person. So like I said, the amygdala is going to take information and assign meaning to it. And then there's a connection with the hippocampus, which has memory. So you get a sensation, you have meaning to it, and you have an old memory that comes up, and you're getting triggered. Maybe that trigger was an old memory that got triggered and had nothing to do with what this person said to me. But it felt like that. It felt that same way because it's triggering those same pathways in my brain. But because I'm aware, and I've been doing this for many years, I don't expect you guys to do this right away. This is a practice. But because I've been doing this for so many years now, I know that when I have an internal reaction, I get to dissect it. I get to journal it. I get to observe it. I get to sit with it and let my body teach me. Oh, okay. I totally understand now why I'm shaking inside. I didn't discharge the adrenaline when it came up. And that adrenaline was because I got triggered by what somebody said to me. This person definitely did not want to hurt me. This was a beautiful person, did not want to hurt me, but it triggered an old memory. And so I had that physiologic response as if that old memory was rehappening, but it was a completely different experience. Is this helpful?
It is helpful. I think I can add a little to that, Sean, because I think in your experience, you said a lot, including memory. It could be anything from a smell, and then you're triggered based on what's in front of you. But you may have to deal with the memory, and it's not necessarily what's in front of you, but sometimes it's what's ever in front of you too. And I think experiencing what Sean just described in her own body and her own mind is the real step for you as we move toward how do I do this long term. It's to have these internal conversations, continue with your tools, journal them, and you will see patterns. When I began the somatic work, I'm 60 years old. I didn't realize that all of the trauma I vented, I kept in my lower back. And after a while, I'm just old. I've got chronic back pain. And I learned that's where I was storing a lot of this energy that I was not allowing to vent. And as I vented it, my lower back pain went away. And there's huge trials now where this may be a real easy slam dunk, because many humans, especially those who are doing so much and so much stress, and you're not allowing yourself, doctors, you don't have a lot of opportunity to vent. You store it. And back pain is one of those areas that we can see phenomenal results if we learn to vent energy. But Kristen, Tracy, you may be storing it somewhere else and may be completely different. I know that I did not feel appreciated as a kid. How's that possible? I'm the best. I didn't feel heard, but how's that possible? I got all A's. I didn't feel heard. How's that possible? Look at me. I'm doing all, well, guess who wasn't listening? I wasn't listening and my parents weren't listening. And so every time I said, maybe I don't want to crank 24/8. When I was a kid, no one is listening to you. Like, you got to do it, man. It's how you're going to feed your family. And then when you're older, you just learn not to listen to yourself. And when someone doesn't listen to me, I get triggered. I had to go all the way back to being a kid, not being listened to get my arms around it. This week, I got my arms around my pain. Not that it's going to go away. It's not that new one's not going to come, but I'm not, as I flowed, and I know the energy because I felt it flow. I'm not as triggered by a lack of appreciation or me thinking I'm not being heard as I used to be. It's a whole, it took me a couple of years to get here. This is going to take time. But I shared with you what happens if we actually do the work, learn the language that Sean is taught. It's important because your knowledge is power. And it's why we've taken so much time. I would have loved to ignore all the neural, limbic, vagus. You can't. It's an understanding that that's where the opportunity lies, but you're all different and you store it differently, and different things have hammered us. We're humans. We're all on our own path. So I'm sorry I said a lot, but it was wonderful what you said, and I was just trying to experience it a little bit.
I don't think you said too much. I thought both stories, and I was trying to write a little bit down, really talk about the levels. And that's very, very helpful to take in and reflect on. And it will be different for, for each one of us, and learning and practicing at certain moments.
That's right.
I find that very valuable. So I think fleshing out one's story is important.
Yeah. Thank you, Vicente. And it's true.
Thank
People's examples will help to bring deeper meaning and comprehension to some of the physiology that we're talking about. I just want to also, and I want everybody's input because this conversation is really important. But there's two things that or a couple of things I want you to also understand, is that this is the pathway to where PTSD shows up and forms. And some people are more predisposed for holding on than others. And there's different reasons for that. There can be a biology piece where just genetically, some people have a hard time breaking down these excitatory neurotransmitters or excitatory hormones, and they stay in the body longer. Or the other reason why somebody may be more predisposed to PTSD or trauma that lingers, or this trigger effect, is because if someone's trauma happened in early years of life, usually those first 7 years of life, especially the first 2 years where attachment and neurodevelopment is so crucial. And if someone didn't have a healthy attachment during those first 7 years of life, particularly those first 2 years of life, and even in utero, this is the preverbal stage. And if there's wounding or trauma during early development, it also predisposes people to have a harder time moving through stressors and to get triggered a little bit easier, or to be stuck in a PTSD pattern. So there's so many different ways that this could look. There's so many different variations and severity in the clinical presentation, but there's nothing wrong. And with tools and understanding your own personal physiology, you're empowered then to make a choice of which path do you want to go down, the familiar automatic path that you've been going and repeating over and over again, and you have this deep neural groove that is so familiar that it's automatic. Or can you pause? So Saturday night, I paused. I didn't react right away. I also stuffed it, and it got stuck in me because I got called away too quickly to take care of somebody else, which I was very happy to do. So maybe would have been able to discharge it, but I couldn't that night. But I was able to sit with it. I was able to pause and not react right away, because reacting right away in that situation probably wouldn't have turned out well. But there are times where you are in an acute stress and the body is going to have a stress response, and you're not going to want to interrupt that. So let's say someone had acute shock or a startled response or a big stress, and all of a sudden the stress is gone, but the body's shaking uncontrollably. This is a natural stress response. And we're going to show you how this happens in nature in a few minutes. I want to make sure that everyone gets this and we finish this conversation before we show this video. But this response, you do not want to interrupt. That natural shaking that happens after a stress has completed is the body's way of discharging adrenaline. And that is the way we move through a stress response, and it doesn't get stored, is by discharging it. So when the body shakes naturally, that is your body's inherent way of, and beautiful wisdom of moving through a stress response. And we're going to teach you some tools that you can do on your own to simulate that, or to help move the adrenaline out of your body. And before we do that, we're going to go to this video. But before we even do that, any more questions? Any more comments?
Allison has her hand up.
Allison,
So the video or
your question,
plan
please. Your question or comment.
is it, how do I, if I stuffed it, how do I get rid of it later?
That's what we're
that
going
what's
to
coming?
teach. That's
All
what
right,
we're
I
going to
love it.
teach you.
All right.
But the first thing, Allison, to become aware of is what is happening inside you when you stuff it. What does it feel like? And I don't know if you know now and you want to share, what does it feel like? Where does stuffing it show up in your body?
My shoulders tense and I brace, and my chest, and it gets hard to breathe. Hey, excuse you. And my breath gets short. Yeah.
Thank you. All very common reactions. Mom or Lois, do you have a question or a comment? Unmute.
You could call me mom. Anyway, I'm Sean's mom. So when I end up in a stressful situation, and of course, I'm probably older than all of you here, I've learned how to deal with it, especially through my yoga practice and more with this course that we're all involved in. I take a moment to pause. I teach my students to do that too, but I take a moment to pause to see what's happening, so that if I'm with people around me, I need to communicate and tell them what's going on. I always have everything from the neck up. So I've had headaches for years that have gone away, thank God. Now I find the stress response takes place in my lower neck and upper shoulders. But if I pause and I literally say to myself, what is happening? I begin to connect to my breath, and I take long inhalations and exhalations to calm myself down. I also carry lavender oil, and I use that. I carry water with me constantly. I talk to myself and say, what do I need? Will some oil help? Maybe I need to have more fluid. It's very hot in Miami, especially now and all the time, actually humid. And I say, maybe I'm hungry. I need to eat something because I find I need extra protein to calm my brain down. Or maybe I even say, you know what? I need to call somebody that's going to help me. So I have a couple of people that I can call. And I use a lot of different tools to calm myself down, because sometimes I'm on overload from all the things that I do in one day, and I feel like my brain is just shutting down. So I was actually in Paris with Sean recently, and we were with Belle and Mike in a park. And I started to reach the point where I was feeling on overload for me. It wasn't happening to anybody else, but maybe I needed to eat something. I was thirsty, and I was definitely on overload. So I shared that with Sean, and we were able to get back to where we were. I felt comfortable and protected, and I was breathing, and I was able to calm myself down until we arrived at our Airbnb. So these are some of the things that I use. Sean is my daughter. She tells you she's on overload all the time. I guess she learned a lot of that from me. And at this point in my life, I'm still wanting to get as much as I can into one day. And I need to pause. I need to come home sometime in the afternoon and just literally lie down and take a power nap. I've been doing this for years, even in college when I had early morning classes. I gave myself the gift of retreating to a quiet space and giving myself the luxury of a power nap. So these are some of the tools that I use. And again, everybody has their own resource in their magical bag that will help them recover. So good luck to everybody. And thank you
Mom.
for this wonderful course. I'm really enjoying it.
All right, thank you, Mom. Just one thing I wanted to just comment on that. Often people might feel, it's very common that you crash after a cortisol spike. So adrenaline is going to be released immediately, and after 15 minutes, the cortisol is going to take over. And what cortisol does is it utilizes your it breaks down fat so you can use it as fuel. It breaks down glucose that's stored in the body so that you can use that as fuel. And then you get this spike in insulin because you get this rise in glucose. And sometimes after that, you can get this reactive hypoglycemia where there's a sudden drop in your blood sugar. And that's when people experience that crash or that need to eat something right away feeling. So that's very common. So in this video, we're going to watch a stress response. The beginning of the video is a little upsetting, but watch it all the way to the end. It's a happy ending. So you can see the eyes of the impala. It is basically just shut down. Almost looks like it's dead. You can see that breath coming through. He's coming out of a dorsal vagal freeze response. And he's shaking now, discharging all of that adrenaline that was released. This is a natural stress response, completing of a stress response. And then he gets up and he runs away. So there are videos. Did everyone feel that? Not just watch it, but right. Yes. Wow, Cesa. Yes, you got it. I mean, just watching that, and there's several of these on YouTube. You can go through and watch animals in nature completing a stress response. There's something about, it's almost like co-regulation. You watch that and you can feel it in your body. And it's inspiring to want to then go ahead and just like shake, like get rid of it. And we don't want to interrupt that natural impulse to shake and move when we feel that antsy or adrenaline feeling in our body. But having that awareness keeps us from injuring ourselves, injuring somebody else, saying the wrong thing, and to complete a stress response safely. So Kristen has some great tools that she's going to go through now that we can practice together for completing a stress response and discharging that adrenaline.
Thank you, Sean, for that beautiful lesson, as usual. So we're going to start together. Say you're in a family gathering, or you're at work, or you're in a stressful situation, and you're scanning your body and you can feel it. One of the first things you can do is press. So if your feet are on the ground, just try it. Just try pressing a little bit into the ground. Remember, we press for presence. There's a reason for it. Every time you press for presence, you are slowly releasing that adrenaline from your past. And this is why we taught it, and this is why it's important. So just press on the floor and then try pressing softly and see, is that what your body wants to do? And then try pressing with a lot more pressure and see does your body want to do that? I invite you to just get the wisdom from your body on how hard to press, and notice as you press what's happening in your body.
You can also add one more step to this. If you press down into your feet, press your feet down into the ground, and then with your hands, put them on your thighs and press your hands into your thighs as you're pressing your feet into the ground. It adds a little extra. Tracy, you like that? Both Tracy's like that.
Yeah, and then play with the weight. So if your hands press harder and see what happens. Press softly. Just notice. I just want you to experience this. And next, the other option is to press against the table that's in front of you, pressing down, just pressing. See how that feels in the body? Pressing on the table. Or pressing on your chair. Just pressing down. You feel like, oh, that feels good. I feel like, oh, I have some anger in me. If there's anger and you're feeling anger and irritability, this is wonderful to complete the stress response. This is one of the tools, is pressing. The last form of pressure that works for a lot of people is pressing against the wall. So if I press against the wall behind me, oh, that feels, for me, pressing against the wall feels the best. So I'm really upset, I'm really irritable, and now I'm going to press against the wall. Really, for me, a lot of pressure. It's as easy as that to complete a stress response. And the next to try, and you'll do what your body tells you when you're having a stress response. But remember, each time you complete it, you're actually increasing the gray matter in the brain, and you're changing your physiology, as Dr. Sean taught. The next is so well researched as well and is amazing. So as you're sitting, if you're feeling all this extra energy and you're feeling irritable, you just shake your hands, and maybe for you, it's slow, and maybe it's fast. Maybe it feels really good to go really fast, or maybe it feels really good to go nice and slow. You see what feels good for you. Allison, you have a question?
So I love these techniques that I understand. I think I understand you saying like practicing in the moment to get the stress response out. But what if I failed and I didn't do any of these and I stuffed it? Can I get rid of it later? Like when I realize, so in Sean's example, when she realizes the next day that she's irritable, then what? Then what do I do?
So I'll answer that. What I did this week was that night I journaled. So I journaled with that part that got stuck. So we all have different parts of us. So there was a younger part of me that got triggered. And I, as my wise adult Sean self, journaled with this younger part. Sometimes what I'll do when I'm journaling with these younger parts is I'll have a conversation with them and I'll use my non-dominant hand as my part that I'm conversing with. So I'll write with my dominant hand and I'll let that part answer with my non-dominant hand. It's amazing what comes out.
Really?
And so I offer you that exercise to do. But
Wait.
it took a few days to discharge. I needed to exercise. I needed to move. And right
Okay.
now I have a swollen knee and I can't really exercise the way I want. So it's really teaching me different ways. Like I can't exercise the way I want right now. So doing these pushing into the walls, and I'm going to teach you a push away soon too, but all of these techniques, as you're feeling the energy in you, tap into that feeling and do those techniques. See what that part of you wants. So these are techniques we're teaching. And then Allison, when you're feeling that, that part of you stuck and held in, what does it respond to? Is it massaging of that part? Or I was going to tell my mom when she feels it in her shoulders to just take her hands. Lily loves this one, where you just take your hands and you massage your traps or your shoulders. And that's one way of just kind of moving the energy. But it's a dialogue. You're having a dialogue now with your body. You're listening to your body and what your body wants, and you're giving back to it what it's asking for. And that's what we're teaching you. Does that make sense?
And just a couple more. One is crying. So thank you, Sesa. When the tears are just flowing, that's beautiful. It's releasing, whether it was 20 years ago, 5 years ago, yesterday, it's releasing now stored emotions in the body. And another one, that's James Gordon, you can look him up, well researched, goes into places where there's war or where there's devastation, and he has the entire community. Let's do this together at your pace. He has the entire community come together, and he has completely, in the worst of conditions, enabled no PTSD. 90% of the community, no PTSD. And all they did were two things every day. They literally shook their legs and their arms, and just to the extent that's comfortable for you. If you're too tired or this doesn't feel right, you don't do it. This is really important to trust the wisdom of your body when you are completing a stress response. But if someone really ticked you off and you have all this anger, you can choose to do this in the bathroom. I've done it at work, where I'm just like shaking it all out, closing that stress response. I was driving last year, and I had just learned this from Peter Levine. And I was driving, and a rock hit the glass window. And I was shaking so much, and I'm like, oh yeah, I can't interrupt that. Shaking is a stress response. You've never interrupt it. Just let it keep going until it's complete. So you shake if it feels good. And then lastly, something to pay attention to. So you're shaking now. Through all these activities, if you just pay attention to your belly and see, okay, I just shook. What do I feel in my body? And remember what Dr. Sean taught a while ago. A lot starts with the belly and it sits there. When the ribs become immobile and the diaphragm stays where it is and it gets stuck, the belly is an important indicator of where you're at. And so after you just did these activities, did any of you notice any shifts in your body that you'd be willing to share with us? Or any sensations that you felt or anything you want to share?
Stacey, I think you have your hand up.
I do. It was to ask a question about what you were saying. So, I mean,
ahead.
I can also say that it brought up a lot of anger. I had a very strong visceral response to that video. So I was like, oh, I've really got to process this because it's not So yeah, I was doing all the things. So it was a lot of crying and a lot of anger. My question was actually, so when dealing with children and you're in a situation with a child and the child gets scared, it's often that a parent or a loved one or the adult in the room will, like, they get scared, something triggers them and they have a big reaction. There's a need to calm them, to be like, shh, it's okay, it's okay. And I'm getting from this the opposite should be done, of just like maybe just watching them and being present with them, asking maybe if they want a hug, but maybe not necessarily hugging them, because I feel like that could also shut down like a shaking or I don't know. But I just wanted to be like, so is that really the better option rather than trying to get them to like calm down?
Yeah. So do you mind, Kristen, if I answer that one?
Oh, please, yes.
So Seiza, the great question. And not just a child, anyone. So anyone who is discharging, the most important thing that we can do for them is co-regulate. So we stay calm and grounded in our center and keep reassuring them that what they're doing is perfect. And that you're here and that they are safe and that you're there to just witness. And you say, I've got you. Just let your body do let your body's wisdom take over here. You're doing great. Just shake it out. Encourage them to move it. And at the same time, you as the witness, stay calm. Because they're going to feel your calm and then they're not going to freak out about what's happening to them. And then they can just allow the stress response to move, be over and done, and everyone moves on. It's over. Just like the Impala had that, it almost died. And then it realized it was safe. It was able to come out of that big dorsal vagal shutdown. A breath came through. Okay. Discharge the adrenaline, move it out.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Good to go. Move on.
That's so interesting, because not to keep talking, but just to like say, like, it's making me realize the cycle in which my mother and I go through. And when I get really upset, her need to fix it, or like, she just does not co-regulate. She gets equally upset and equally like distraught, and in theory I get it, because I'm sure it's hard to watch your daughter be very upset, but I'm also like, oh, this is just a terrible cycle,
Right.
that we're both, because then I feel the need to fix her and make her feel better. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we've had this conversation too. So after, I think it's the age of 16 or something. I can't remember what Peter Levine says, but at that point we regulate ourselves. That mother-child relationship is done. And as far as co-regulation, there's always that opportunity, but at that point, we have to learn to regulate with ourselves, with our wise adult self. So whatever your mom is experiencing, that is your mom's stuff. And you, Seiza, now have this knowledge and wisdom that you can start as your wise adult self working with this younger part of you that might still be in relationship with your mom. But that relationship with your mom is not going to fix that younger part. Only you can.
Okay. Thank you.
Tracy, do you have a question?
So I just want to kind of piggyback on what Seiza said. So it was really interesting, because I think what this course is bringing up a lot is that things that I didn't even realize, and I'm hearing in other people. Like I know I'm a fixer. I'm definitely a fixer, but in being a fixer, it's blocking being a co-regulator. And so my goal here is, I mean, like that is a profound thing to just feel. So thank you, Seiza, for bringing that up, because that just, I guess, brought that up in me and realized, that whole portion of co-regulation, which I think that I'm doing by fixing, but I'm not. It's like I missed the boat right there. I just kind of like jumped right over it. So thank you.
And one step further, Tracy, is to now look at this part of you that wants to fix. that's could be perhaps a protector for you to look at. Is maybe there's something that you don't want to feel, so it's easier for you to do something, to fix, make it all go away, help the other person. It makes you feel useful. But what is there something underneath that you're not looking at?
Well, we've talked about this a lot together, Sean, recently. And I think that, you know, one thing that I was having a really hard time with at the beginning of the course was that when you guys were asking, like, how do you feel? And I actually spoke about this with somebody else in the group. And I realized that I don't feel a lot for me personally. Like, I feel for everybody else, but I don't feel for me. So it's very difficult. Like, I cry a lot. I'm emotional. I'm an empath. But when it comes to me, I don't know, because I've never stopped and wondered how I feel.
Yeah,
So.
I see a lot of heads nodding. So I think there's a lot of people that can relate. So thank you, Tracy.
Anyone else want to share their experience with pressing, or think about a future situation where you might choose to close that stress response? I think Allison had such a great question around, okay, it'd be great to intervene it after it happens, because we're all going to have stressors in our life. It's just a matter of how we choose that path, but then slowly releasing it. So perhaps you didn't have a stressor that you consciously were aware of, but you woke up in the morning or you're in the middle of your afternoon and you just start feeling irritable. And you're feeling like, oh, I just want to run, or I just want to do it. Adrenaline's rushing. Right? That's another great opportunity to either press or shake, or the last one we didn't go over is stomping. Literally stomping like a 2-year-old tantruming. Literally just pressing into the ground with your legs and stomping, if it feels right for your body, is another way to discharge. One of the things I did as I was coming out of dorsal vagal, and it didn't feel okay to shake that much, is I took pillows and I would squeeze a pillow, just squeeze it as hard as I could, or I'd punch it or toss it around to let that discharge come out. How did it feel for any of you after we did those activities?
Tracy, you have your hand up? Jackie, can I ask you to put your mute on? We hear a little bit of feedback from you, if that's okay. Thank you, dear.
I want to say about 5,000 things at once. Maybe just 5, but I won't. So I did notice a huge shift after we did the exercises together, which I usually do some version of, even unconsciously. But I've been holding myself back from that this morning. So I really appreciated this today. It's really interesting. So I felt a real openness actually in my belly. Like there was it felt spacious. And it was really, really surprising, because I kind of know that works, but I don't always remember to go for it. I want to really appreciate the fact that no matter how far back I go with what I know formed my sensibility of my nervous system responses, let's just say, okay, I'm amazed at how it always walks with me, whatever I haven't yet walked through. Or I always have the concern that if I don't work it out, I have a backlog. Like, I know well enough to know that I have a lot of backlog, like from truly in utero, honestly. And so that complexity has been what I spent my whole life quietly doing on my own with resources, very on my own all my life. But now at this age, I realize that we can never miss an opportunity, because we'll always get another to finish. And even if it may not be that original time, we can write about it, we can actually have an interview as though we're back in time and do that and sit down. Imagine If I don't have a pen and I have a moment and I'm before bed and I think of something, something hits me about an old thing, I just have a conversation with that part of myself. But then the truth is, I think trusting in this work, that it's always in the now, that we change the future, we change the present, and we change the past. As Sean was saying, she was talking about the quantum idea of this is the way healing really works. So I really appreciate today. And Sessa, I just want to say too, I was feeling what you were feeling when I was watching the video at first, and I realized, you know, what that meant to me. So this whole experience for me, and what I just said, confirmed that it's not something that I'm ever going to leave behind, that I can't bring back in now and work with. Yeah, so thanks for hearing that.
You're muted.
You're on mute, Sean.
Sorry. I think our bodies are always communicating with us, but we're not listening to the messenger. We want to shoot the messenger instead of listen to the message. And if we start listening to this message that's trying to come through in our body, then we might just gain some beautiful wisdom and opportunity to learn and grow and evolve, rather than making it wrong or pathologizing what our body is trying to tell us. And Stacey, we had this conversation yesterday that revisiting the same thing over and over again, yes, that's what we do. Normal, totally normal. But you're not revisiting it and repeating it the same way. Every time you revisit it, it's our teacher. These things that we've been through in life become our teacher. Great example. Here we go. So there's this biosphere in Arizona, which is this beautiful controlled environment where they've controlled the temperature and the climate and the soil so that everything is pristine and perfect. And the flora, the fauna, the trees were growing beautifully. And then all of a sudden, these beautiful trees started to just fall over. And they were like, what's going on? Everything is perfect. Why are the trees just falling? And what they realized is that the trees had very shallow roots. Because there was no wind to challenge the trees to grow deeper roots, the roots were shallow, and it didn't even take wind. They just naturally fell over. So these experiences that we have in life shape who we are. They're not bad. We grow because of them. We grow stronger. We grow roots. We grow wisdom. We get to help not just ourselves, but others through our own experiences. There are gifts. Yes, they're challenging. They don't have to be bad. They're opportunities. So every time we come around to the same theme over and over and over again, it's like a spiral going upward. We're revisiting that same spot, but with a different vantage point, with a little bit more knowledge, a little bit more resources, and a little bit easier. Can we do one more exercise? Or you exercised out?
Let's do it.
All right. There's it'll be a little bit on the theme of what we've been. Okay, so you're in. So it'll be a little bit on the theme of what Chris has been teaching about these pushing into the wall. It's so nice to have that feedback of pushing against the table, or pushing into the wall. But you can also just sit in space and do pushaways. Or I like to call them, Peter Levine calls them pushaways. I like to call them creating space. Like sometimes just life feels like it just feels like too much, and I just want to create space and lift up all of that weight off my shoulders. So let's do that together. We'll call it creating space rather than pushaways. And I want you to practice it with a different perspective. So one, we're just going to push away. And then next, I want you to feel imagine as if there's resistance. There's a wall that you're pushing away from you. So you're pushing against resistance. So let's do the first one where you're just pushing away or you're creating space, and see how that feels. Feel as if there's an energetic force field that you're pushing away. And you could go in, my body loves this. So you can go in all directions. There you go, Kristen. Yes, the lifting up off your shoulders, lifting. Oh yeah, this just feels so good. My head already feels lighter. And then don't forget behind you. There's also that space behind you that you push away. So you can push away this way and then do it that way. And then come back and just feel your feet on the ground. There you go, Lily, a nice yawn. Tracy had a nice breath. Mary, I love it. Seisan, look at this. Yes. Beautiful. All right, let's do it again. This time, when Tracy's done yawning, we're going to do it, and we're going to do it really slowly so that you really feel that weight, like you're just making sure that all the space you need is being created. So really slowly, and put muscle into it, a little bit of muscle. So slow. So all of that feeling inside that you just want to move and create space, engage with that and push it all the way, create space. Take that space inside. Is there a part inside that you need to just open, and you can open it? And yeah, there you go. Open it. Or at least there I go. Open and create that space. How does it feel to just go real slowly, intentionally, and feel that space inside you opening and just open in every direction? Jackie, yes, beautiful. Yay. Kristen. Mary, another one, beautiful. Lily, beautiful. So these pushaways are big, creating space, pushaways, whatever resonates with you and however you want to hold them. I want to do one more way, and we can end this way. We're going to do 3 voos with pushaways. And we're going wild now. 3 voos with pushaways. Ready? And you go in any direction that you feel like you need it. You could do it in 3 different directions. But let's all put our microphones on. Let's voo together on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Sometimes at the end, I like to throw that last little bit away. So I'll get to the push away and then I throw it. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Can you feel the vibration of the voo inside your body and how that in itself, the vibration is moving the energy that's stuck? One more. Pay attention to the vibration at the end.
You all just completed stress response. Congratulations. Incredible. Incredible. You're moving that energy that you don't need to widen your window of capacity. Each time, this is a power pack. Each time you do that voo, as silly as it is, and you do it with the push away, you are literally taking the past that Tracy talked about and discharging it from your body. How incredible is that? And some of you may say, well, why didn't you do that early in the program? You had to go through this entire program and process to be there. It could have set you back otherwise. So the timing is really exactly where it needs to be. And I will tell you what Dr. Sean says to me all the time. You are exactly where you are in the process. You are exactly where you're supposed to be.
So we're going to wrap it up. I'm going to stay on screen. If anybody needs to stay on and have a conversation, I'll stay on for a few minutes. So if you need to go, you could go ahead and go. If anyone has any questions or wants to finish processing, just I'm here. It was a wonderful class. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Mary, do you want to share anything?
No, but I had a question for Sean.
Yeah.
When we talk about the capacity for self-regulation at 16, or at the moment of development, we're talking about the capacity at 16 affected by 0 to 16. Yeah, I just wanted to make that point.
What I was saying was, if your relationship with your mom has not been a co-regulatory relationship at 16, you're never going to get that. That's the point where you are developing your wise adult self and can start to develop this observer part.
Right. No, I understand that, but
Yeah.
it's going to be influenced from the earlier experiences, because that's what's going to be held in the body.
It's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly right. And this whole thing is bringing conscious awareness, subconscious patterning. And once we bring the conscious awareness, and then taking the knowledge and of the physiology, so that it diminishes. I find, at least for myself, when I understand the physiology, it takes the charge away from it. Then I have this understanding where I can conceptualize it rather than be reactive to it, because I have this deeper understanding of, oh, that's just adrenaline in my body, and all I need to do is move to shake it out. It's not anxiety. It's not something wrong with me. It's not PTSD. This is the physiology that I can work with. Make sense? Where are you stuck?
Because I think sometimes it is anxiety.
Well, we're labeling it anxiety, but anxiety could be excess adrenaline, excess cortisol, inability to break down glutamate, or overactivity of the NMDA receptors.
Yeah, no, I understand. You're saying that marry the information to what you might have called it before.
Exactly, because
That's
if you
fine. No,
call
that I
it just anxiety and don't understand the physiology, then for me and for a lot of people, I have found that they start to then react to the anxiety. It's not just about having the anxiety.
I think you're absolutely right. So I know it's really helpful to think about renaming and thinking about. That's what I liked about the earlier presentation about, oh, let me observe what's happening right here. Yeah, thanks.
You're very welcome. Anyone else?
Just following up on what Mary said, it's kind of like, instead of calling it a name, it's just feeling it and being in the moment, and don't give it a name. It is what it is, right?
Yes, it is what it is. And your body is communicating something to you.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. What do I need to support myself in this moment?
Right.
And the support are the tools you're learning, and the one that you're called to do in that moment. You've learned a whole bunch of tools. You have so many tools now in your toolbox. What's the first one that comes to you? I could push away. I could do a VIV. I could shake. I could put music on and just dance my ass off.
That's
and
a good one.
sometimes that's what I like to do.
Yeah.
I did that the other night. It really helps.
It helps so much. Yes. I love that you did that, Mary. We'll have to have a dance party one day. Tracy, do you have anything you want to ask?
I'm so glad I came back. And Mary, I'm sorry that I missed your original question in the beginning of it, but boy, was I glad that I came back when I heard what you were speaking about. And please correct me if I don't have the right idea, because I wasn't there for the original question. But I was just realizing that for me, it's really helpful to stay in the body. When I go into my head, even if I think about the physiology, because I grew up at a table in my family home where people talked about physiology and the body and what's happening in the body all the time. And I love that. I love it. I do. I still love it. But I realize that when I really want to do my own, like really powerful, most powerful healing point for me is when I stay in my body and I ask, what does this feel like? And just until I can meet that. And for me, I'm talking about meeting it in a way that's really as deep as the pain, as deep as the pain, as deep as close as I can get, right to that, meeting it. And that's where I find for me the best way. And then the movement. That's when I need usually to move. That freedom of the movement actually allows everything that is attached, connected to those particular feelings. And for what I don't even know more. I mean, there's always so much more that I can't know in my cognitive mind. But the powerful healing happens to me when I'm meeting the emotions, and I'm meeting it with an emotion, actually, with another emotion. I'll ask myself then, after the one emotion subsides, I'll say, what does this feel like now? And then something else comes up. So depending on how much time I have, I'll go as far as I can go. But I just really appreciate the fact that we all have such a different perspective, where we're coming to what we consider to be wholeness, which is healing. Wholeness is healing, right? So where we're coming to that is going to be so different for every single one of us. I just know the body and the emotions are high octane for me. Like they're really the fuel. And so I wish I heard your question, Mary, but thank you for posing it.
Yeah. Go ahead, Kristen.
We have this one recorded too, Tracy, so we'll make sure that that's posted by the end of the day.
Yeah. So, and Kristen, you're 100% right. So what we're trying to teach you is, get the mind out of the way and pay attention to the body. And so you're able to more easily bypass the mind and go straight to the body. For some of us who are very analytical, we want to, and we're creating story all the time. Right, and you can relate to that too. Often to get rid of the storytelling part, to bring in the other part of like, oh, I understand what's going on because I just paused and I'm becoming aware of what's happening in my body. I understand what's going on. I'm appeasing my mind so then I can then shut the mind off because I understand. Now I have the opening to go into my body. We're appeasing the mind because the mind wants a hijack. So the understanding helps to appease the mind. But we eventually want to get rid of that part and drop in. And yes, then be 100% in this moment with your body and what your body is trying to communicate, and moving and playing with it and having these beautiful conversations with your body.
That phrase of appeasing the mind is great.
Good.
That's exactly what I was thinking. We have to give the mind respect. So
yeah, exactly.
I have problems with balance sometimes. I used to have it all the time, but this program is really helping me. So yesterday I found if I really ground my feet in the floor, like I'm starting to get wobbly and, I look like I'm drunk. So, I'm not. But if I really ground my feet and press into the floor when I'm standing, it'll stop it. Isn't that cool?
So cool. Amazing. I love that you're discovering new things about your body. That's perfect.
Yep. That's great. It's so fun.
Thank you. This was really fun. I'm glad that we stayed on for a little extra.
Yeah, thanks for offering this.
Yes, thank you.
Good.
All right. Have a wonderful rest of your week. We'll see you on Friday at iMove.
Okay,
Oh, we
bye-bye.
actually- we have
No,
July
no.
4th. We don't have I move.
Oh, it's July 4th. You're right. You're right. My bad. My
Yeah.
bad.
Sorry.
I'm so in the moment. I forgot where we were.
So we're meeting next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday.
Yeah.
Everyone be well.
Great.
Have a good holiday.
Thank you.
Two.
Breathe.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Breathe.